What's up, guys? We are back with another Marvel Legends review, and we're back with another MCU review. But this isn't a situation where I was in a store and just couldn't resist a figure. This is a set that I absolutely needed to get a hold of because of what figures are in this. So today we're taking a look at the Marvel Legends Thor Ragnarok Grandmaster and Korg 2-pack. I absolutely wanted a Korg because I don't think we're going to get a comic version of this guy. We might, but I'm not putting any money on it, really. But I needed a Goldblum. I needed the Grandmaster, and these figures look pretty solid. So I'm really excited to jump into this one. We've got him here in the larger format 2-pack box. Then you've got the figures there in the window. You've got the Thor Ragnarok logo down there on the bottom. There's character artwork for each figure on the side, and then the back of the package has the Thor Ragnarok poster, character artwork again, as well as a bit of a bio for each of our two figures. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go. We've got them out of the package, our Grandmaster and our Korg figure. And yeah, I am digging these figures, even though, again, you know, for the 100th time lately, I'm not an MCU guy when it comes to figures. I still haven't seen Endgame, if that tells you anything. But these figures look really cool. I am a huge JEFF GOLDBLUM fan. I really like Korg's character, not just in the movie, but specifically back when like Planet Hulk and all that stuff took place. So these are figures that, despite being 100% MCU, I was really interested in snatching them. And we're going to take a look at each of them individually because they're very different. I mean, they sort of go together in the sense that they are related based on the movie, but they're only loosely affiliated based on what type of characters they are. They just happen to be on the same planet, and one was basically enslaving the other. So we're going to look at Grandmaster first because I really just want to get into that face sculpt and the photo printing on that one, and then we'll take a look at our Rocky friend. So for Grandmaster, we're going to take a look at articulation first, as usual. He's got some kind of odd stuff going on, not anything too crazy, but he is definitely a little different just because of his build. So you've got a hinge with a ball peg at the top for the head, and it goes crazy far. It's kind of inhuman what it can do, basically, and he looks kind of weird if you tilt him up too far because of how he's seated on this peg, but you know, you can get him to go all the way down, and I mean, inhumanly articulated here. So you've got good range. We've got a rotating head. The left arm, your right, can go all the way out and swivel. You've got a swivel and hinge at the elbow, and that's a single jointed hinge because this is a robe piece. So as we would expect to see with Legends, there is no double joint here, nor is there a bicep swivel. You've got a lateral hinge and rotation at the wrist, and then on the right arm, your left arm goes out, rotates. You do have a bicep cut. You do have double jointed elbows, and it goes really far. And then you've got a lateral hinge and rotation on that wrist, and it's just because of the different constructions. So you've got a sleeve versus like a robe sleeve here. He has a diaphragm cut, and you can pop the jacket open. It looks like there's something else down here, but this is actually a separate piece, this red band. And he looks like he has a very, very long torso, but I think it's just the differing colors that are really throwing things. So he can go down and he can go back, but only slightly, and it's really just because of the robe. And then he can, of course, rotate as well. So you've got full rotation there, but this jacket is definitely going to get in the way in some aspects. He can kick forward all the way. Of course, he's not really going to be able to kick back. He really can't kick out to the sides unless you kind of pull them out or take the robe apart again. You've got a thigh cut. You've got double jointed knees, and they go all the way back, but again, the robe's going to get in the way there too. And then you've got rotation at the ankle. You've also got rocker, and you've got hinge. So that's a little different right there. The actual ankle itself will rotate where the pants meet the exposed skin. So he is, I mean, pretty well articulated. He is, again, just different. There is a lot of stuff that you see on this particular figure that isn't all that common just because he has kind of this wacky outfit and design. Now, when it comes to the overall look of this figure, there is a lot to love here, and we'll get to the Goldblum face at the end here because that's why we're all here, but let's appreciate the rest of this figure because I really do like just about everything that's going on with this guy. I really like this robe. It is, of course, hindering, especially if you want to sit him down. That's definitely going to be a problem. But it flows really nicely, and it melds with this sculpted arm really well. And the entire thing is textured. There's this kind of swirly pattern that's all over it. And then the back looks really good. The way it bunches up on the floor, I think that looks very organic, very natural. You do have a little paint on here for the sash that runs down. Of course, you've got this very asymmetric design with the half robe, and then you've got the exposed arm and the sleeve with this kind of bracer over here, which is all textured. He's got painted fingernails. He's got a ring on his pinky over here. And then, of course, like I said, you can pop this guy open. You've got his kind of cummerbund here. And then you've got the rest of that shirt, which is, again, it got some sculpted detail on there and a little bit more paint. He does have kind of metallic pants, and they're done up in that kind of swirly pearlescent plastic that I personally really like. I have to say that every time we encounter this, but I really do like it. And then he's got kind of a dark blue on the inside of his robe that you can of course see down there at the bottom, but he's also got exposed and sculpted feet with painted toenails with these kind of sandals on. So not to mention the fact that you've got actual rotating ankles on this figure. You've got exposed feet on a human, which is pretty uncommon, right? I can't think of too many other instances off the top of my head where that happens. Obviously we get, you know, more monstrous type characters that have that kind of stuff, but for normal human type characters, that is a little different, and they look really good for, you know, a couple of feet. So there is a lot of cool stuff going on with this figure. And then we'll do size comparison as well. Now this is the only Thor that I can find, an MCU Thor. So this is the one from the Valkyrie 2-pack. I have the other one from Ragnarok. I'm just not sure where he is, because what's really weird is that at this point, the overwhelming majority of my MCU figures are all from Ragnarok. So, you know, I really like that movie, if you can't tell. So you can see right here that Thor stands a good head taller than the Grandmaster, and I think the scale here works pretty well. So he's a decent sized figure, but he's not overly big, and he's not undersized either. Of course, we're all here for this face, for this head sculpt, and I'll go out on a limb and say that this might be one of my favorite MCU faces, heads in a very, very long time. And this comes from someone who doesn't buy a lot of this particular section of Marvel Legends. I do have a fair share of them, but for the most part, I steer clear because it's just not my thing. But I had to get this figure because of this head sculpt, because it's Jeff Goldblum. I mean, everybody wants a Jeff Goldblum figure. And this one, I think, is absolutely 100% spot on. I absolutely love the head sculpt. The face printing on this thing is second to none. It is truly remarkable how eerily close this is to Jeff's real face. It's pretty crazy. And then you do have a little bit of paint on the chin, so you've got that little blue stripe that he has. The hair is nicely done. There's some white dry brushing in there to bring out that sculpt, and it just looks like him. You know, we've got the SDCC version that he's got the smile coming, so you're going to have two options in some ways with this guy, but this is my preferred version. I don't want that 2-pack personally. I wanted the more stoic, serious version rather than the one with the grin. And I think they absolutely nailed it. I couldn't be happier with the way this face and head sculpt turned out. It's pretty impressive. And then as far as accessories go, for the Grandmaster specifically, he's got his rod, whatever this thing is, the staff, I don't remember what they called it at this point, but there is a little bit of paint at the top to make it kind of like a copper color on the ball here, and then the rest of it is just cast in a kind of a marbly gold plastic. So of course it's a very unique design, and he can hold it just fine in his right hand because his left is a style pose hand, but you've got his one kind of signature thing. Of course the SDCC version's coming with the puddle of goo, which I think is an amazing accessory on its own, but this kind of rounds out the figure as a character, gives you the one thing he truly needs alongside that amazing head sculpt to make for a very, very complete and nicely done figure. Now for our most recent Rockman in the Legends line, we have got a really, really interesting figure here because there's a lot of stuff going on that is new for this figure, not to mention the fact that he is a little different as far as articulation goes, and he's basically a Build-A-Figure. He's damn near Build-A-Figure size, so there's a lot of value in this pack as far as I'm concerned because of how much unique stuff is going on here, not to mention the fact that I like this character, and I loved this movie, and I loved this character in this movie, so I had to get him, despite this not being my thing when it comes to Legends. So let's see how this big guy can move around. We've got a head that can look up. He's got a really, really tight hinge on the ball peg here, so you can get him to go down, but you can see it's taking a little more effort than usual. You can bobble side to side, and he's got full rotation. He's just got a big fat neck, so it stops him from moving up quicker. You've got arms that can go out, they rotate. Even with this shoulder pad, it still moves really well. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, a little better than 90, and then you've got a lateral hinge and rotation on his left arm. You've got a vertical hinge and rotation on his right arm. He's got a diaphragm cut, so he goes side to side, backwards and forwards, and then he can rotate, but he's also got a waist twist as well, so he can look down a little bit. The waist twist isn't going to help you with that, but he goes back pretty well, and then of course you've got multiple points of rotation, which I really like, and of course that is slightly newer articulation scheme for Legends. Legs go really far. They kick forward and backward. You've got your thigh cut. You've got your double jointed knees, and they are incredibly boxy and ugly when fully extended, but they do work. And then you have got rocker and hinge down at those ankles. So he does move around pretty well. I mean, for a bigger figure, you kind of have an idea of what he is going to do. If you have any experience with Build-A-Figures, you really know where his limitations lie, just because he is slightly larger in many places, but he still moves around really well. Now, when it comes to the design of this figure, I think they've done a pretty good job here. There is one area where I'm maybe not as happy as I wanted to be, but I think this figure looks really, really good. So, of course, you have got the rocky, craggy body parts. So very Thing-like, but of course also very different from Thing. You can see that he's a lot more jagged, and he's kind of craggy again, so he looks kind of mountainous almost. And then you've got the kind of war harness that's on him. So you've got the shoulder pad here, you've got your harness, he's got a little bit of paint on there with the gold sigil there, you've got a little bit of paint on his wrist as well, and then you've got his huge girdle and pants, and then you've got the shin guards down here. So I think they do a pretty good job of translating him into figure form. He's maybe not as ostentatious or as exciting in some ways as the Grandmaster, but I can't help but really like the way this figure looks. There is a little bit of a wash on the figure in general as far as his skin tone goes, so it kind of moves from a darker gray to a lighter gray. It's harder to pick up against some harsher lighting, but trust me, it is there. And then of course you do have more red paint all over the body as far as the armor goes down here with these sculpted bits, and then on the kind of waist piece, the girdle area down here. Not a whole lot to speak of on the back, and there's not really any of that wash on the back either, which is a little bit of a downer, but it's not to be unexpected either. So I kind of expected that was going to happen no matter what, and I wasn't really let down, but at the same time you kind of are. Otherwise though, I think the body is nice. The proportions are pretty good, and we'll do a comparison to the Build-A-Figure Hulk for this movie as well. But of course we do have to talk about the head sculpt, because I did mention that there was one thing I'm not all that happy about. Now, the face and head here are for the most part pretty good. I have one, I guess, truly minor gripe. When I come to grips with all of it, it's really not too much of an issue. But the face is pretty decent. It's just kind of blurred almost. There's not a lot of delineation of where things are. You kind of almost lose some of those features because of his mountainous, craggy look. There is a bit of a wash to bring it out, but what I really don't like is the smirk. I wish he just had a stoic expression. That is purely just my opinion on this. It is really just what I would have wanted to see. I think the smirk is fine. It certainly fits the character, so it's not wrong by any means. I just wanted something else, and we didn't get it here. Otherwise, though, I mean, it's fine. It fits the body. It's the right proportions. It definitely keeps the flow of things as far as the craggy, mountainous look. He just has a certain mouth that I didn't want. And here he is with the Ragnarok Hulk, and I don't think they really scale all that correctly, because Hulk looks a little too short compared to Korg in some ways, but they definitely do scale in terms of proportions, I think. So you've got a much bigger Hulk to go with a still very large Korg, but he certainly looks a lot smaller next to this actual Build-A-Figure, although I do think that if it came to it, Hasbro could have made this guy a Build-A-Figure just based on the fact that he is tremendously larger than just about every normal figure. And for Korg's accessory, he comes with one, just like the Grandmaster comes with one. He's got his kind of weird space club thing here. So you've got a flat gray that goes to the gold metallic. And of course, it's a weird space goofy junk type of design. So there's not a great deal to speak of there. It's a club. He can hold it in his right hand only because his left is a style posed hand, but it works fine for him. It fits the character, it fits the scene, and you've got a weapon for your Rockman to wield. So overall, this is definitely a must-have set for anybody that wants to get Ragnarok figures. This is easily some of the best MCU stuff that I've had personally in a while. I'm really, really happy with the way both of these figures turned out. Grandmaster is likely the breakout figure of this set. I mean, it's a Jeff Goldblum figure. The Grandmaster has a really crazy design to begin with. It's got that wild head sculpt. The photo printing is unreal on that face. And then Korg, despite my gripe about the mouth and the smirk that he has, he looks fantastic. There's really nothing else that I would consider to be wrong with him. Both figures have slightly different new articulation schemes, and they just look good. That's really all it comes down to. They both look good, and they accomplish what you want out of them. They look like their Marvel MCU counterparts. So there's not too much more to say. So that's going to do it for this look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Grandmaster and Korg 2-pack. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.